Cette réunion ouverte.
I call this meeting to order. Welcome to meeting number 64 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Agriculture and Agri-Food. And pursuant to Standing Order 881-4, the committee commence consideration of the main estimates 2023-2024. Vote 1 under Canadian Dairy Commission, Vote 1 under Canadian Grain, votes under Canadian Grain Commission, and votes 1, 5, and 10 under Department of Agriculture and Agri-Food referred to the committee on Wednesday, February 15th, 2023. I would now like to welcome the Honourable Marie-Claude Bibeau, the Minister. Welcome to our committee, and on behalf of the committee, I would like to thank you for the work you do for all farmers and the industry. Thank you for being here today to discuss the main estimates.
To see you. We also have from the Department of Agriculture and Agri-Food, Stephanie Beck, who is the Deputy Minister. Let me recognize your new role and congratulate you and wish you all the best in the days ahead in the name of our agriculture sector and with the department. We have Marie-Claude Girard, who is the Assistant Deputy Minister, Corporate Management Branch, and from the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, Sylvie Lapointe, Vice President Policy and Programs, and Philippe Morel, Vice President Operations. Colleagues, you know the drill. We'll allow for an opening statement from our Minister, around 5 minutes. I'll give you a little bit extra time, Minister, if you'd like to finish up. And then we're going to get right to questions. So we'll start there. Madame Ministre, allez-y, s'il vous plaît.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. We're here today to talk about the main estimates for the Department of Agriculture and Agri-Food for 2023 and 2024. $1.8 billion is what we are projecting for this year, but there will be some tax credits for the coming year that will surpass $3.8 billion. This demonstrates that the government is willing and ready to help the sector. We want to help the industry with risk management due to the challenges they have gotten in the past, that they have met in the past years. These estimates are fixed in time. Over the next year, our investments will demonstrate that we do support this industry. The funding also continues with our management risk. We have a new partnership for sustainable agriculture, and we are increasing investments by 25%. I would also like to let the committee know that in the 2023 budget, we will be helping producers and alleviate the pressure felt financially. There are anticipated payment fees that will be reviewed. We will add certain amounts that will amount to 84.4 million % over the coming years. Of course, with regards to viability, we also support the industry with regards to climate change. The amounts will be part of our investments of nearly $2 billion. The funds will also help the industry. More than $157,000 will be allocated $157 million will be allocated to help producers. This amount is part of our commitment to help the sectors, including various agreements.
Support key priorities for the sector over the next 5 years, including research and innovation across the value chain, action on climate change and the environment, expanding markets for Canadian exports, creating a more diverse and inclusive workforce, and public trust. On the international stage, we continue to help our producers and processors to maximize their opportunities in the global marketplace. Last year, Canada's agriculture and food exports reached a record of close to $93 billion, not far from the target of $95 billion set by the federal, provincial, and territorial ministers for 2028. That's an amazing achievement given the many challenges farmers are facing. To help our producers and processors diversify their markets, we will open Canada's first ever agriculture and agri-food office in the Indo-Pacific region. The region holds significant opportunities for our agri-food sector and will account for 2/3 of the global middle class by 2030. Last month, I was able to strengthen our agricultural trade relationships with the region with a mission to Japan and Singapore. I can tell you that the customers there are looking for more of our world-class Canadian agri-food products. Of course, we continue to strengthen our relationship with our largest trading partner. Last week, I was in Washington. I met with Secretary Vilsack. We renewed our commitment to priorities on resilient supply chains and making sure that trade is based on science and rules. I also raised our industry's concerns that the voluntary product of USA labeling requirements could restrict trade and disrupt supply chains. Mr. Chair, there's no question that the sector faces significant challenges, but the sector is strong, growing, and has a bright outlook for the future. Our farmers are and will continue to be leaders in sustainable production and innovation. We will continue to work together to help farmers keep their businesses strong and growing through investments such as the main estimates that we are discussing today. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Ministre.
Thank you very much. Now we have our question period. We will start with the Conservatives. Mr. Barlow for 6 minutes. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Minister, have you done an economic analysis, an impact analysis on the fuel standard and what it will have on farms and food prices?
As you know, our price on pollution is a significant tool for this government and for the country.
It's the new fuel standard tax that's coming out. I'm not talking about the carbon tax. I'm talking about the fuel standard tax that will be coming out. Just so we're clear.
The tools we are putting in place are there to allow this country, and the agricultural sector is part of the solution to reach our targets to fight against climate change, and we're there to support the farmers.
Of the impact this fuel standard will have on transportation, food prices, yes or no?
We collaborate with the Minister of Environment and the Department of Environment, the Department of Finance, but this tool, once again, is important for us to reach our targets.
Well, I'll take that as
we support the farmers in this direction.
Mr. Barlow, look, I'm going to stop the clock. I appreciate it, and I will be respectful of your time. You ask a question, let's let the minister. I know you have to intervene because you only have so much time, but let's be mindful, okay? Yeah, you've got 5 minutes left.
I'm trying to make it even. So
5 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. Minister, do you know the amount of beef imported from the United Kingdom last year to Canada?
We are opening up this market, and I've had the opportunity to speak, to discuss, and to challenge the 3 ministers responsible for trade and agriculture very recently. I know we have some challenges in terms of the barriers. They have come here to make some technical study, and I will keep pushing so we can export more beef over there.
Thank you. The answer is about 4,400 tons of beef was imported into Canada from the United Kingdom last year. Do you know how much Canadian beef was exported to the United Kingdom last year?
Encore une fois, comme je vous le dis,
As I said, we can do better with regards to exports towards the UK. It is a market that is very important to us and that's very close to us. We have the potential for growth there. I will continue to push my colleagues, my 3 colleagues who are in the agriculture and environment team and commerce team there in order to increase our exports.
So a massive trade imbalance, and we're seeing a similar trend with pork has gone down substantially every single year, Canadian pork exported to the UK. So why did you not prioritize addressing this trade imbalance before agreeing to the accession of the United Kingdom to the CPTPP, which seriously diminishes our strength in terms of leverage to coming to agreement? Are you going to address this, as cattlemen have said, as a failure of this government not to address that before agreeing to the accession of the UK to the CPTPP?
vous regardez cette entente avec
We have to look at this agreement that we have with the UK. There are agricultural sectors that are growing. Corn, for example. Pork will be able to, is a market we can increase, especially frozen pork. I know that there's potential there, and I'm sure that we will be able to lift the obstacles, the non-tariffary obstacles with UK.
Lambda-Cy pesticide?
je travaille avec l'agence, avec
I work with the health minister on various issues for the anti-pest act.
You can clearly see that the PMRA has admitted that they made substantial mistakes in the science to delist or ban Lambda-Cy pesticide. Will you tell PMRA to immediately do a reassessment on their evaluation of Lambda-Cy pesticide?
indépendante, les décisions qui sont basées.
Inaudible. I cannot tell them what to do, as you know. I can only do what's reasonable within the limits of my position. I encourage them, of course. We did do an assessment because indeed I did want to understand why this decision had been made. We must also understand that the environmental and climate context, for example, is different here than it is in the United States.
Your colleague Jennick Atwin had a press conference asking the government to ban glyphosate in Canadian agriculture. As you know, under your government, Health Canada did a reevaluation of glyphosate in 2017 and has stated that glyphosate is safe. When are you going to schedule a press conference to debunk the comments made by your colleague Jennick Atwin and say, ensure the message out there that glyphosate is safe for Canadian farmers to use?
Je peux vous assurer que je comprends.
I can assure you that I do understand why it's so important for our producers to have the inputs and the pesticides in order to operate. The results and the conclusions from those agencies, for example, on glyphosate, if it is used according to its label, then it is safe.
Thanks, Minister. One last question. In the budget, the foot-and-mouth vaccine bank is in there. Good to see. But there is some wording that is concerning in terms of that this will be a cost share with the provinces and territories. Is there some assurance that you can give us that if the provinces cannot afford the cost sharing or do not agree to a cost share, that this vaccine bank will go ahead through funding from the federal government alone?
We want to move ahead and we have the money, but I think it's important, and from the first conversations we've had with the provinces, we see that there's an interest and they want all of us together to make good use of the money and to increase the money so we can have an even more efficient or, powerful, let's say, action on this front, because it is important for some provinces more than others. I don't expect necessarily at the same level of participation, but I see interest.
Thank you, Minister Beau. Thank you, Mr. Barlow. We'll now turn to Ms. Taylor-Roy for up to 6 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And thank you to Minister Beau for being here today, and to all of the department officials. And thank you for the hard work you're doing at the ministry to support our agricultural sector and to move towards more sustainable agriculture as well. I I actually want to talk about another area where I think there's potential for growth, which is the plant-based food market. And I recently had met with World Animal Protection and also a young woman, Nikki Moani, her name is, who's a youth climate save, works with Youth Climate Save, and she's also an ambassador for the Plant-Based Treaty, which advocates for a transition to sustainable agriculture. And the plant-based food is an area where there's a lot of potential for growth, and it's also an area where we can build on the incredible sustainability work that's being done through our agriculture sector, because a transition to more plant-based foods, the consumption of more plant-based foods, has the potential to actually reduce, to close the gap in reaching our climate targets that we currently have in our emission reduction plan. So about 9 megatons. It's quite impressive, actually, when you look out to 2030. So I'm just wondering what the government is doing, what the department is doing to support the growth of that plant-based food sector, which I believe is a huge export market for our agriculture community as well.
Okay, don't touch it. Well, thank you for the question. I think we have a huge potential, and that we are already positioning Canada as a leader in terms of innovation around in the plant-based food. You know that with one of our super cluster, with our Protein Industry Canada, we have already invested $353 million, and I have had the opportunity to visit a certain number of these projects that are being rolled out from the supercluster and the PIC program, and it is just amazing what is developing in there, talking about food, directly around food, but also the residue, if I may say, of certain transformation are developing into alternative fertilizer, organic fertilizer as well. So not only around food, but the whole supply chain, the whole sector is extremely promising. So we're talking about 52 projects with the industry and with our investment, but with the private sector investment as well. $478 million involving 430 organizations and 633 products already since 2017 only. So this is a very, very exciting sector that is developing, and I think we're very well positioned to be a leader, a world leader in this sector.
Thank you so much. That is exciting. And I'm wondering here, too, we have the what role the government can play, because we also have the new Canada Food Guide, which, as you know, has really emphasized plant-based foods and consuming more of that. And hopefully we're going to have the school program, the school lunch program, introduced soon. So do you see greater opportunity for us to try and move consumption in that direction?
I will leave this analysis to our colleagues from the Department of Health. I think there will always be space for animal protein and plant protein, but with a growing world population, we have to be open to innovation, and everything around plant protein is extremely promising.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's always going to be the demand for the animal proteins as well. But I think when you look at the world food hunger situation and the amount of water used and the amount of other inputs used to create animal protein, that having the balance between both is going to allow us to address a lot of things, environmental sustainability, world food hunger, and our climate targets. So I appreciate the work you're doing on that very much. Thank you.
Okay. You still have a little bit of time remaining, actually.
Great.
I've got you at 90 seconds if you
All
want.
right, great. Then I'll ask another question. Fantastic. And I'm also wondering, because I saw in the numbers again, the on-farm climate action stream, which of course there's a great deal of money allocated for, over $87 million. And what is there any new directions that's coming out over the next year in this program, or is there still a lot of pent-up demand for that program in terms of the initiatives that were underway?
So we have launched a program maybe a year and a half ago, more or less, and mainly for last summer and this summer. We have 12 partners, I would call them program managers all across the country that are rolling out this program, mainly for cover cropping, rotational grazing, and the better management of fertilizer, of nitrogen fertilizer. So we will analyze the results and the impact and try to measure, the impact on emissions reduction, because this is what we are looking for, and making our farms more resilient, of course. And then we will launch the second call for proposal, or we will go for a second phase for next summer, actually. Not this one, but 2024. So we might realign some different things, but I can't tell yet. We have to look at the results first.
Okay, thank you very much. Maintenant, Monsieur Parent pour 6 minutes, s'il vous plaît.
Now on to Mr. Perron for 6 minutes. Thank you for being here today. I have many questions, so I'm going to try to go quickly. As you know, we did a study on importing poultry from Ukraine. The members of the CFIA said that the first 10 receipts would have full inspections. Can you tell us if the CFIA during this inspection noted any elements that are forbidden in Canada? I will pass the mic to my colleague. We received 24 containers of poultry from Ukraine since the tariffs were reduced. 85% of those shipments, 11 of them were fully inspected. Those inspections can take up to a month because they are complex. As you said, the samples are taken from the 10 first shipments. There are parts of the poultry that was received that was not standard. And of course, we had to either destroy them or send them back. But the rest had passed the test. Otherwise, the samples are very detailed, or very it's very complex. When the poultry is not standard or up to par, we increase the number of shipments that must be tested to 15. Thank you very much. That was part of our concerns. We had mentioned that in a letter, Madam Minister. In that letter, we had also recommended that we not renew this deal. June 9th is very close. Can you tell us what your intentions are with regards to productions on supply management? Of course, there's this attack by Russia against Ukraine, and we are imposing as many sanctions as we can. And you know that I staunchly defend supply management. So I am following this very closely. So the decision has not yet been made. I'm not the person who makes that decision. So we will insist that the decision be made according to what the committee here has recommended. Second question. In the main estimates, you have talked about a research fund for the dairy industry. That's great, but we don't have any numbers and we don't have any dates. Can you tell us more about that? So $330 million will be allocated. We are talking to the dairy industry now. The point of this program is to create possibilities for the surpluses of non-fatty products. We're looking at what can be done. I visited a company in Quebec City recently. They are currently developing bioplastic products with non-fat products. So there is a lot of potential. And when will this program come into effect? It's always difficult to give dates, but we are aiming for the fall. I don't want to talk about it if it's not realistic. We have to develop this program with the industry. All right, I will move on to something else. The members of the Agricultural Committee made some recommendations, for example, to delay the reimbursement of the emergency fund. $100 million had been allocated previously over a certain number of years. That was in Quebec. Of course, agriculture is both federal and provincial under both jurisdictions. Will you work with Quebec, as you do with supply management, to help Quebec? When we get into cost management, that has to do with the Canadian Partnership for Sustainable Agriculture, and there are things that we have already agreed on. I have talked about with Mr. Montagne yesterday, the Minister of Agriculture in Quebec. We could talk about maybe a 60-40 split with Quebec, but we are currently looking at where the needs are most important and pressing. We're looking at what could be done with regards to partnerships, with regards to supply management and other options. Thank you very much, Madam Minister and Mr. Perron. Your time is up. Now on to Mr. McGregor for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome back, Minister, and to all your officials. Thank you for joining us today. I also want to stay on the subject of supply management. Now, my colleague, Mr. Perron, asked about Ukraine. I want to ask about future trade deals. India, of course, looms large right now. India has indicated very publicly through its High Commissioner to Canada that agriculture is going to be a big thing. Now, at the same time, Parliament is in the middle of debating a private member's bill, C-282, which is going to put in force and effect a legislative firewall on the ability of the Department of Foreign Affairs to negotiate on tariff rate quotas. And I think that's there because Parliament's trust, at least on the opposition side, was broken 3 times by your government, if I'm speaking frankly, through 3 successive trade deals. Yes, you can talk about the compensation, but that third pillar of supply management, import controls, there were some things given away there. I guess what I'm asking, Minister, is, I mean, C-282 still has a little bit of a journey ahead of it. It does need to go through the Senate before it receives royal assent, and you have that legislative constraint in place. In the meantime, if the trade deal with the Indo-Pacific region with India in specificity marches ahead at a pretty rapid pace, can we have your assurance that supply management is not going to be on the table, that you're not going to take advantage of the time between now and when C-282 comes into force and effect?
First, I want to say that our commitment was to protect the system and to compensate. And we've done, we've done what we said. The compensation have all been announced, and now our commitment is different. Our commitment is not to allow any additional share in any other trade agreements. So no, I can assure you that the supply managed product will not be on the table in any way in our discussion with India.
Okay, thank you for that. You probably thought you were going to be safe from a PACA question today, but I'm going to prove you wrong. Very happy to see the vote today on C-280. This has been a long time coming. I guess my question is, I mean, it's been a long journey. We had in the 42nd Parliament both this committee and the Standing Committee on Finance make a recommendation. This committee and the Standing Committee on Finance again made recommendations in this Parliament. And I guess after 7.5 years of your government being in power, it's taken the opposition, it's taken us to get this bill up front, debated, and sent to committee. In other words, the initiative lay with us. And every time we have tried to convince your government that this is what people want, this is what is needed to protect our perishable fruit and vegetable sector because existing tools do not work, and they have been explaining this to your department time and time again, ad nauseum. They lost their preferential access in the United States, which I hope came up in your discussions with your U.S. counterpart. I guess why now? Why now has your government done an about-face and are now going along with what has been demanded for so long?
Well, as you know, it's when you're in government, we have to make the list of priorities that will impact, Canadians.
Taxpayer dollars,
but it takes a lot of time in the House, in the parliamentary agenda.
Not if it's a government
Mr.
bill,
McGregor, you've asked a question. I'm quite
answer.
interested in the minister's response, and then you can engage.
Yeah, so we were not against, but it did not get the priority spot. So we'll do it with a private members bill, and I mean, at the end of the day, it's good for our farmers.
Good. Okay. Well, better late than never. Yes. You may be aware that our committee, of course, spent one of its meetings looking at the recent plant closure from Olimel in the region Quebec. That happened in Quebec. Tomorrow it could be in a region of my home province of BC. And the irony, of course, is that our committee has completed a study on processing capacity in Canada. We have identified, some of the major deficiencies in the system, that too much of our processing capacity is tied up in large corporations. And when they go under, they leave our primary producers really in a very difficult spot. So I guess, this is a private company. I understand that, we can't get too involved in the private affairs of a single company, but the system as a whole, what have you learned from what has happened with Olimel, and what steps do you plan on taking in the immediate future to address that processing capacity and those weaknesses that exist throughout the country?
This is, you're right, and COVID have shown us even more how depending on two big ones, and the beef industry and a few more in the pork industry, it makes us more vulnerable. And this is why it has been identified as a priority in the Sustainable Canadian Agricultural Partnership. If you look at the Guelph statement, you will see that supply chain is there. And this is why there is funding available through the provinces with a 60% federal funding to strengthen our regional supply chain. As you said, it's private affairs, but this is something that I witness visiting farmers all across the country. It is an issue that we're looking at with the provinces, and obviously CFI stands ready to support newcomers that would like to put in place or to implement new processing facilities in the country.
Thank you very much to you both. Maintenant, Monsieur Lehoux, 5 minutes, s'il vous plaît.
On to Mr. Lehoux for 5 minutes. Thank you. First question. I won't hide the fact that I am disappointed. We just talked about the closure of the Olimel processing plant in Vallée-Jonction, close to where I live. We lost many jobs. There is a lot of concern amongst producers. 70% of our pork production is exported. Quebec is a major exporter. And as Minister of Agriculture who comes from Quebec, you should know that this closure will have an impact in the Maritimes, in Ontario, and maybe even in Manitoba. Why have you not said anything in the past 4 weeks since they announced the closure? I am, of course, following this issue closely. I had a long discussion with Minister Lamontagne yesterday, but it is a business decision. I understand how stressed our workers and producers can be. It is no small issue. We will see how we can support them. Minister Lamontagne in the province must follow things very closely. He knows he can count on me depending on the measures that will be identified. In the Canadian partnership, there are funds that are allocated to this type of thing. Speaking of those funds, Madam Minister, when we look at the funds allocated to supply management, I don't see any, and many producers don't see them either. I've spoken to them. Yes, when the processing plant will close, there will be an impact, and maybe it will be short term. There are porks that are being fed right now, that are being fattened, and maybe the processing plant will close before they are ready to be slaughtered. Do you have any dates that you can announce? Because a lot of these producers are family businesses, and they are very, very worried right now. The last year was already very difficult for them. Is there a program? Because in the current supply management programs, there doesn't seem to be anything. We are a country that exports pork. I understand your concern, and I share it. And once again, it is a business decision. Quebec is the first province to have intervened, and I have to let the industry do their work. They signed an agreement to try to reduce production regionally. These are steps that need to be taken on first. I don't want to put the pork before the cart, as you would say. Of course not, but there is a monopoly in Quebec, and that will have an impact not just in Quebec, but in other Canadian provinces. So the federal government must also put its foot down to intervene quickly and support producers. Last week, Ontario's pork producers came as witnesses, and they were also very worried. We won't be fixing the entire problem, but we do need support. There is a program that is in place. PACCAR is the program that I wanted to mention earlier. It is administered by Quebec, and it helps if somebody wants to buy back the processing plant. So with supply management, we're talking about revenue loss. Indeed, but we're also talking about transportation over hundreds of kilometers. They will need help, not in 6 years, but now. I hear you loud and clear, and I'm following things very clearly, closely with Mr. Lamontagne, but we have to do things in the proper order. With regards to poultry being imported by Ukraine, we understand that some of the shipments have been inspected and some of them may not have been. Can we reassure Canadian consumers about the impact, and are we certain about how these products will be distributed in the Canadian food chain? Because if some of them were not inspected, well, we need to reassure the population that we are at ease with the part that was not inspected. Yes, the 10 first shipments are tested very rigorously. If there is one among them that fails the test, we go up to 15 shipments. I'm sorry, we are out of time. I allowed a little bit more time to get your answer, but time is up. Now, Ms. Valdez, for 5 minutes, please.
Chair, thank you to all the witnesses for joining us today, as well as yourself, Minister Bibeau, and your officials. Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll direct all my questions to Minister Bibeau. You mentioned in your opening the Indo-Pacific strategy, and with the opening of the very first Indo-Pacific Agriculture and Agri-Food Office in the region. Can you tell us more about how the Indo-Pacific strategy and upcoming office has been received by our partners and our Indo-Pacific partners, as well as the overall the agriculture sector?
Thank you. Very well. I was in Japan not so long ago and in Singapore, and I had the chance to discuss with my counterpart, but also with the representative of Canadian businesses over there, and also with buyers of Canadian agricultural and agri-food product. They were all very excited about that. I think having a team located in the region from Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada and trade commissioners and people from CFIA, this strong presence will help us develop new markets and also manage maybe even more efficiently some challenges that we might have, reassuring our partners. So it is very promising. And while I was in Singapore, I was there for a food show as well, and I have witnessed the deployment, the rollout of our new Canada brand, which was quite. I was very proud of what I've seen. Let's say.
Merci. And how do our Indo-Pacific partners anticipate that these initiatives will contribute to the advancement of Canada's agri-food exports here to Canada or elsewhere?
Well, being there, and I see and I've heard, that they want Japanese, for example, they want more Canadian products. They trust our system. They know that we offer high quality products. So having a closer relationship, and actually in Japan, our Canadian ambassador in Japan has been named as the special envoy to the Prime Minister. So it's kind of a second representative, a high-level representative as well. And we have opportunities with the CPTPP to open up new markets and increase market share. And all our here in Canada, like the beef sector, the pork sector, the grain sector, they are all looking forward to be there and to join forces as well, because this is one of the objectives of our office there, is to work even more closely with other provinces representative and industry representative in the field.
Thank you. I appreciate your perspective, and I'm really looking forward to when the study comes here in Committee for the Indo-Pacific Strategy. So going back to the main estimates, can you elaborate on the 3 major transfer payments related to the cost-shared programs and how these programs will aim to support farmers here in Canada and enhance the resilience of our agriculture sector? And so you could speak to either the Canadian Agriculture Partnership, the On-Farm Climate Action Stream, any of those.
So in the main estimate right now, and as you know, the budget comes in a few tranches. So we have the business risk management portion, which is not full at this date. So as always, it's an estimation, and we don't know depending on the disasters that we might have to face or trade disruption. We don't know exactly how much will have to be distributed to farmers, but I can assure you that these programs are ready to be rolled out when a disaster happens, like the drought or the flood or the hurricane. Right now, we are following closely the fires in Alberta and in BC, and maybe floods as well. So I'm in contact with the Minister Horner and Minister Alexis on that. The agri-environmental programs are the On-Farm Climate Action Fund and the Agricultural Clean Technology program. So these, and actually we just launched a second call for proposal on the Agricultural Clean Technology program. And this, I would invite farmers to apply, and to apply fast, I would say, because the first call for proposal was subscribed very, very rapidly. but these are projects that so we see a real the farmers are eager to benefit from these programs and to increase the efficiency of their equipment.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Minister.
Minister.
Thank you, Ms. Valdez. Et maintenant, M. Perron, 2 minutes 30 secondes.
Mr. Perron for 2.5 minutes. Thank you. That's not a lot of time. I'd like to talk to you about the control of genomics and traceability. The industry last year talked about mandatory traceability. What you announced earlier this month is a traceability that is taken on by the industry. Many groups are more or less satisfied with this. Nobody necessarily wants to block the technology. People want follow-up, especially for the biology industry. There were reactions. Some said that they were disappointed that traceability was not mandatory. They said that this made things unreliable. What do you have? What are your thoughts? I understand that this is preoccupying or of concern, but the grain sector and seed sector has made leaps and bounds. This data will be complete and very detailed. We will make sure that all of the seeds that have been genetically modified, whether it be in genomics or in GMOs, it will be properly identified. We have put in a body that will follow things closely and make recommendations. The government will also take control because we were told that we would have a database that would be easy to use and would be complete. If you look at what's happening elsewhere, especially in the United States, we are the ones with the most transparent system. In Japan and in Singapore, I spoke with different colleagues in Washington as well. They are very closely following our system because they think it's the one that makes the most sense. There are many norms that are mandatory in the industry. When you say that the industry is satisfied, of course they will be. How can you ensure that the database will be complete if it's the industry taking care of it? There are representatives on the biology committee that will be making follow-ups. I think it's a serious guarantee. If we, for example, realize that there's something lacking, or that the committee realizes that there's something lacking, we will make the changes that we need. We take it very seriously.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Minister. Over the last number of years, I've been fortunate to establish a great working relationship with the Dean's Council on Agriculture, Food, and Veterinary Medicine. We have some fantastic institutions right across Canada, and they see a lot of potential in making Canada's place in the world even better than it already is. But in order to do that, of course, it is going to need some significant investment. And I think they are looking at the demographic crunch that is approaching. So the ability for our Canadian universities to bring forward the people with the expertise and technical skills to really find a place in 21st century agriculture. They have come forward with a number of proposals, but a lot of them center on establishing a funding program for some of the very dire infrastructure needs that our Canada's agricultural universities have in need. What can you tell me about, first of all, are you aware of their asks, and how have you as Minister been advocating with your counterparts around the cabinet table to really see that what they're asking is met?
Was it in the last budget and the budget?
Most recent submission.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of the budget. We have a $100 million investment in science that is specially dedicated to universities. So I could follow up with you with more details unless Marie-Claude might have more details on
That's
this
a
one.
program. The lead it's with ICED, and with NSERC. That's where the 100 million is. But we're working jointly with them.
Okay, and if you can submit further information, that'd be great. And then just one quick one. The Canadian Federation of Agriculture asked about how is the Grain Act review going? Can you provide this? This is the question that seems to come up every single time. Where are we at with the Grain Act review?
It's almost there. I'm almost there. I hate to give dates. My team kills me when wants to kill me when I give dates. But my own personal target is to be able. Let's say before Christmas, okay? That I want to table it before Christmas.
Thank you, Mr. McGregor. Thank you, Minister. We'll go to our final round of questioning. 5 minutes to the Conservatives, 5 minutes to our Liberal colleagues. Mr. Steinley, up to 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Madam Minister, what is Canada's rate of efficiency of fertilizer usage compared to other countries? Do you have that number?
Vous le savez, vous avez beaucoup de plaisir.
I think you are having a lot of fun asking me for very specific numbers, but my job is one where I want to give our producers the ability to reduce emissions, not just because it is important in the fight against climate change, but it is also important in order to improve their resiliency. That's what my preoccupation is.
Had a report that our producers are 70% more efficient than all other jurisdictions in the country. 70% more efficient. So what would the cost be to our economy of the fertilizer reduction targets that you have? Do you guys have a number of what that will cost the Canadian economy?
Moi, je pense que ça va rapporter à notre économie.
I think that this will do a lot of good to our economy. I think that Canadians and consumers around the world are always looking for more sustainable producers, and I think that this is an investment that we're making. You know that I'm always everywhere around the country working on the ground, and producers in Saskatchewan have thanked me for these improvements. We have a joint mission for producers.
Saskatchewan that might have a different opinion, but I'm not making these numbers up. It's from Fertilizer Canada's press release. So they said cutting fertilizer use to reduce on-farm emissions could cost growers nearly $48 billion over the next 8 years. And that was a study done by Myers, Norris & Penny. So that's $48 billion that this fertilizer reduction target could cost the economy. If you were the Prime Minister and a minister in charge of a portfolio cost the economy $48 billion, what would you do with that minister?
Encore une fois, moi, je pense que c'est une information.
That is information that is part of the analysis, but we are investing in the future of our economy and of our farmers and producers. They need to be resilient, and they know it very well because they're the very first ones to adopt these practices. They appreciate that we are there to help them. When I meet producers, but also companies that are developing these new innovations, I am very hopeful and certain that we will go above and beyond.
$48 billion would be fired, Mr. Chair. So I'm going to switch gears now, talking about the new amendments put forward by CFIA for the traceability. I had a conversation with Agribition, the CEO of Agribition, and the president of Agribition, and they see this as going to be very cumbersome to add these new traceability regulations onto fairs, counties, the Toronto Royal Winter Fair, Agribition. They will see this as a very big amount of red tape that they're going to have to cut through and make it much more cumbersome to track animals on and off yard, which they didn't have to. They're also very concerned about actually having to tag animals at these fairs if something goes wrong and they lose their tag. Do you guys have any consultations with any fairs, exhibitions? This is really going to hurt 4-H small town shows as well, because it's going to put a lot of pressure on these volunteers. So I'm just wondering, who did you consult with before you brought in these new traceability amendments?
Je vais céder la parole à Sylvie pour Madame Lapointe.
I will pass the mic to my colleague.
Place the regulations. We are out consulting under Canada Gazette 1. So there is a tremendous amount of opportunity for fairs and other interested parties to give us feedback, which we are getting. And then we will take that feedback, again, engage with people. There will also be a second round of consultations.
Thank you very much. I have a few right here, so please take a look at what they're saying because it's making it very hard for on-the-ground volunteers to try and keep these shows running if these amendments are put forward. That's the feedback we've got so far. And my last question is going to be around electronic login devices and transporting of livestock. As predicted, the animal transportation regulations your government implemented is causing havoc because there aren't the rest stops, safe rest stops to load and unload cattle within using these electronic log devices. So my question is, have you heard feedback from the transportation company, and are you looking at changing some of these regulations because it's creating unsafe atmospheres for both drivers and the animals that are being transported?
On a la conversation en ce moment avec...
We are currently in discussion with the Minister of Transport on the topic. Thank you very much, Madam Minister.
We'll start with Mr. Lewis online, and I think you might be splitting or sharing with Mr. Turnbull.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, I'll be splitting my time with Mr. Turnbull. So I want to thank the officials for being here, and also thank you, Minister, for being here today, and for visiting my riding recently in Kitchener-Conestoga for this year's first local harvest, which was maple syrup producers. So appreciate that. We all know that one of the challenges for farmers is the need to pay upfront for various inputs and expenses. Returns on farmers' investments typically come in the fall after the harvest is complete and crops are sold. So the time gap between expenses and revenues can sometimes cause financial strains for farmers, and they've got ongoing costs that need to be covered throughout the growing season, which is why the Advanced Payment Program is such an important and popular loan program for farmers, which helps alleviate that burden and of upfront costs. So in our latest budget, the government once again raised the interest-free portion of the Advanced Payments Program. So through you, Chair, Minister, can you share more details about the Advanced Payments Program, its importance, the positive impact that it can have for our hardworking farmers, whether it's in my riding of Kitchener-Conestoga or anywhere in Canada? Thank you.
Oui, bien sûr. Le programme
Yes, of course.
Is exactly meant to support farmers to provide a loan in the beginning of the season and then give them an interest-free portion that has been increased up to $350,000 this year. And if we add it to last year, it reaches about $84 million in savings for farmers. So they can get the loan early in the season and then proceed with their reimbursement later on when it's the right time for them to sell. So it's a really great program, and I wish that we all promote this program. It could be used by more farmers, but I've been told recently in Ontario actually that the young farmers particularly appreciate the program. It brings them into agri-stability in the same time. So they particularly, it's helping new farmers as well.
Thank you. And it's nice to know that it has been increased. So I appreciate that. I'd like to share my time with Mr. Turnbull.
Thanks, Mr. Lewis, and thanks, Minister, for being here. I have a few short answer questions for you, if you don't mind. One of them is, what is the size of the typical farm in Canada?
So the typical farm is, oh, hold on. I just don't want to, right here. Yes. Okay, so there's the typical farm could be seen in different ways in different regions. But if we say the average is 809 acres.
809 acres, okay. And what percentage of Canadian farms are 5,000 acres or more?
3%.
3%?
Yeah.
Well, that seems like a very small amount. So are the farms of 5,000 acres or more typical farms in Canada? I guess the answer is
yeah, that's why
no.
I told you if it's a typical in one region, I don't know, but I wouldn't call it typical when I know that the average farm is 809 acres.
So when some people use the example of a 5,000 acre farm to demonstrate the impact of the price on pollution, do you think that's a little bit misleading?
I mean, when we are calling a typical farm one of 5,000 acres and we are projecting to 2030 without taking into consideration all the new practices, all the innovation that will take place until then, I don't think it reflects what will be the reality when we get there.
Okay, thank you.
And definitely not for an average 809 acres farm.
Yeah, appreciate that. Okay, thank you for the clarification. You mentioned innovation, which relates to another line of questioning that I wanted to pursue with you. This week is Canadian Innovation Week, and we know how important technological innovation is to our agricultural industry. It allows farmers to be more productive and competitive. It also provides solutions to make their production more sustainable. And I know, and I understand that we're working on these issues with our allies through the G7 and the G20. And one of the latest forums is the Agriculture Innovation Mission for Climate, or AIM4C, which is a US UAE initiative that brings together over 50 countries to discuss agricultural innovation initiatives. So, Minister, I understand that you were in Washington and participated in this summit. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So, Minister, we are wildly over time on the 5 minutes, but as your
Wildly?
chair, I will give you just a brief moment to perhaps reflect on your trip to Washington. Thank you.
So very quickly, it was very impressive. I came back from this mission thinking that we would not only reach our objective, but we would, surpass our climate objectives. And I also took the opportunity to meet with Secretary Vilsack, of course, and to meet with farmers and processors in the beef sector, because I wanted to be clear that no one has mentioned cool, but I want to say that this is something that I'm following very closely. I wouldn't want any mandatory cool labeling in the U.S. Secretary Vilsack keeps, reassuring me in terms of voluntary, but still, depending on the way it's being done, it could impact our supply chain. So I took this opportunity being there and enjoying all the innovation, but also to have this honest conversation.
Thank you, Minister. That ends our period of questions. I know you have to run, Minister, so we're going to let you do that. Unfortunately, I have to go as well. Mr. Barlow, I know you're going to take the chair for the second hour for officials. We're going to suspend just for 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll get started for our second round of questioning. So thank you very much, Minister. Thank you to all the officials for being here, and we'll see you in just a few minutes.
with Miss Collins' sound. It's not. I'm not sure if it's her headset. So we're gonna go ahead and start. But when it comes up to Miss Collins' turn, hopefully we have it resolved and she'll be able to. The NDP will be able to get their slot. But we'll just for the sake of time, we'll get started and hopefully we'll have Miss Collins' sound issues resolved when we get to her spot. So we've had introductions and we know most of our guests. Thank you very much to the officials for sticking around and providing us with your time this afternoon. But we'll get right to the rounds of questions, and we'll be starting with the Conservatives. Mr. Rep, for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the officials for being here. How many farms are affected by the underutilized housing tax?
Unless one of my colleagues knows, I'll have to say we don't know. We could get
Okay,
back
could I ask that you table that with the committee? The exemption for the $5,000 fines for that tax for individuals, $10,000 for entities has been those fines have been exempted for for 6 month period. Will the corporations, will the entities be exempted after that completely from this tax?
We'll have to look into the program for you and get back to you.
Okay, can you explain just? I mean, the farms are in a rural area. It's designed to address housing prices, particularly in our urban centers. Can you ask how applying this tax to our rural areas would impact? Is this not collateral damage or unintended damage?
Rural housing, of course, is a larger matter for our farmers who are looking for temporary foreign workers to come in and assist in running their farms. So it's certainly a matter of great importance.
Thank you. The minister supported C-280 today. That was good to see. In the past, she has provided information that there were only I can never say that word, negligible losses in the fresh market sector. I just had a bankruptcy in my region that affected a producer to the tune of $1 million. May I ask, to the extent that the banking sector has lobbied either the AFC and or the minister regarding the bill C-280?
I can't speak to the minister, but I can tell you for certain that the banking sector has not lobbied me since my time here in the department. Perhaps though, since the lead is our colleagues at the finance department, it's more likely that any discussions would have been had there.
Exactly where I was going with my next question.
Sorry.
May I ask the representation, what representations has AAFC made to finance around the implementation of C-280 once it's passed, and particularly the speed that can happen and how quickly we can lobby the U.S. for recoverage for our Canadian sellers under PACA?
Well, it does need to continue through the parliamentary process, and I think that depends more on how fast that process is before we can put in place the necessary actions.
Thank you. I'm going to switch over to our CFIA folks if I can. Is the Chief Redress Officer still operational?
No, the position does not exist anymore.
The position does not exist. Can you table, though, with the committee? Do you know when it was eliminated?
No, I don't have that information with me.
Okay, can you, while that office was in operation, can you table with this committee since 2015 at least how many complaints that were received, how they were broken down by subject matter and by province, and the outcome of those complaints?
So what we have right now is a complaint and appeal office that takes complaint from regulated or even citizens, and this office still exists. So we do receive some complaints, questions, or even congratulations on our services or actions. So, what information would you like to have?
Just exactly what did come in from the provinces and exactly how what the outcomes were of those complaints. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't have that with me, but
just table with the committee.
Provide, yeah. Thank
you very much. The minister is co-chairing the Grocer Code of Conduct Committee. Two questions here. Can you provide the timelines when it's estimated that that's going to be completed? And secondly, what advice did the department provide to the minister from two of our allies that have gone down this road, from the UK and Australia, from their failed initial attempts anyway? What advice was given to the minister?
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the question. My understanding is they're in fact very near the end of the discussions on the Code of Conduct. We are very hopeful that it will be implemented shortly, and I believe the likely time frame is over the summer. And then what we expect to see is full onboarding by all of the big companies in Canada, the grocery stores in Canada, And that is where we will be able to tell how well this is working. I'd like to note that we have the full support of all of the provincial and territorial governments as well. And the grocery companies that we have been meeting with have assured us that they are going to be part of it. And just, sorry, do you want me to answer the second part?
Yes.
Thank you. It's a very good point, because we have indeed consulted with our our colleagues in the United Kingdom and Australia and followed closely what worked for them. Very useful learning, including that it is not a quick process. So you can put in a first round. How well does that work? Is tweaking required? And then is it necessary to put in more, let's call them forceful measures? That is what they ended up doing.
Thank you. With Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, that's provided all kinds of challenges, and it's come up earlier on fertilizer. What steps has AFC undertaken to make fertilizer more available, Canadian sources, particularly in Eastern Canada and Atlantic Canada? On my own farm, over my lifetime, I've actually used more Russian and Belarusian potash than potash from Saskatchewan for economic reasons. Shameful. I agreed with my colleague. So what steps has AFC taken to help our Canadian particular fertilizer on the East Coast?
Mm-hmm. It's an important question. Thank you, and thank you for raising it. This is something that's extremely important, of course, not only to farmers in the East, but to the West as well. We have been in conversation with the industry ever since the tariffs were announced to ensure that there would be enough supply for this year and indeed ongoing. And I think what you're seeing, we have been informed, just for the record, that there is ample supply for this coming year. And what we've seen is a shift in behavior as well. So we are confident that going forward there will be enough for not only Canadian farmers in the West, but in the East as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rep, and thank you, Ms. Beck. We'll now switch over to the Liberals. Ms. Taylor-Roy, for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you again to our witnesses, and congratulations, Ms. Beck, on your position. I actually had some questions around the price on pollution and the agricultural climate solutions and the impact that has had on our farms and the emissions that have been coming from the agricultural sector. Because we know we have a carrot and stick approach here in Canada, where we have the price on pollution, but we also have this great agricultural climate solutions program worth about $4 billion to help farmers adapt. And we've been hearing a lot about, the price on pollution, how it's going to hurt farmers and what it's going to cost, but there's been no incorporation of behavioral change on the part of farmers, as Mr. Turnbull was mentioning earlier. And I'm wondering, we just heard from Minister Guilbeault that we've had a 53 megaton reduction in greenhouse gases, which is amazing. That's the equivalent of 11 million cars on the road. So, but it wasn't broken down by sector. So I guess my question to anyone is, do we have any estimates of how much greenhouse gases have been coming down in the agricultural sector, or what the projections are, given both the price on pollution and this agricultural climate solution program that we have in place?
Thank you. I think we have been very heartened by the changes that we have seen, in particular in behavior. The programs that have been in place have been deliberately designed to target changes in behavior. We know, though, that Canadian farmers have been doing a fabulous job on this for, frankly, decades in different parts of the country. And what we're seeking is greater adoption of those techniques more broadly, to see an increase in the kinds of reductions that you have been mentioning, of which we're very pleased. The discussions right now around the sustainable agricultural strategy, we're in the process now of consultations across the country. Again, differences between small farmers and the kinds of crops that they grow, or the livestock that they raise. Those are the kinds of things that will make a difference in how we make our final design for our strategy. But already we've seen a difference between the kinds of approaches farmers are taking. We're spending a lot of money, as I think you know, on research and development. And again, depending on the region and the kind of crop that's being grown, or the livestock, and then a whole other section of work being done on adoption. And then, of course, we have all kinds of other incentives to procure things like biodigesters to make a difference too. So we're very comfortable that we are headed in the right direction. I have actually seen a number on what the GHG emission could be, but I don't have it with me right now. I'd be happy to table that later.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. So it sounds like you're fairly confident that even though farmers have been doing this for ages, that a greater adaptation of these techniques are going to increase further decrease the greenhouse gas emissions from this sector.
And I would, if I may elaborate a little bit. From a research perspective, what we're seeing is that as, for instance, new seeds are developed that are more drought resistant, or these days, frankly, that can deal with drought and flood in the same year, unfortunately, we're making big progress there. For instance, on something like vertical farming, we know that seed companies are developing, and this might sound a little odd, but shorter crops that can be grown in different ways that would make them more help reduce GHG emissions and be able to produce higher yields in smaller acreage.
And just, you may not have this number either, but I'm wondering within the department, have there been any estimates done on the cost of these climate events on the agricultural sector? The droughts we saw across the prairies, the flooding in BC, the East Coast. I mean, there's been so many things happening. I wonder, has there been any estimates done on what this has cost our agricultural sector and what it's done to our farmers?
It has been terrible, devastating on our farmers. Perhaps two relatively straightforward numbers. We know that we spent $600 million in Alberta after the droughts of 2021. That's one province alone, one terrible catastrophic event. Hurricane Fiona, we're looking at least $300 million just for agriculture alone. So these are big numbers, and we're not expecting them to diminish anytime soon, unfortunately. That does mean, though, that we're looking at more mitigation and what is it that we can provide to farmers in terms of innovation, be it equipment or practices or seed that will make a difference in the future.
That's great. It would be really interesting to see some of these numbers broken down in terms of the impact on a 5,000-acre farm, to see what the costs are of this climate, the damage that's happening, and what it's costing our government and our agricultural sector and our farmers, as well as the change in behavior. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
30 seconds. Okay, well, I just want to thank you then for the work you're doing on this, and I think that having some of these facts, some of these numbers around both, we can't make assumptions without our projections without putting assumptions in. And I think some of the assumptions have been that behavior is not going to change among our farmers, and I think we're seeing our farmers have always been on the forefront, have done so much, and are continuing to do that. So I'd really like to see some of the numbers around how their behavior is changing and how is that impacting, and how is both the carrot and the stick, contributing to this change in behavior for the farmers. And really, they're on the forefront, as we always say, of climate impact. So it's going to be benefiting them in terms of the climate events. Hopefully, we can manage them and mitigate it as well.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor-Roy. I appreciate that. So, colleagues, we have Ms. Collins back. We're going to just suspend for a second here and just test Ms. Collins' sound again and make sure that she's able to join us. So we'll let the clerk deal with that and just test her sound here 1 sec. Please.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much to the witnesses who have stayed with us. I'm going to pick up where I left off. I liked the end of the minister's answer. She said, if anything comes up, we'll react. How can we make sure that the database is complete? You say that you will react if anything comes up. Can you give us more details with regards to deadlines, for example? How often do we get feedback from the industry at the committee, that kind of thing? You'd like me to answer quickly, right? Yes, we only have 6 minutes. We have no deadline yet. I know that during the consultations to establish the processes, it was weekly. I don't think it will be that often in the coming months and weeks, but it is to be determined according to the needs. We count on your vigilance, of course. Earlier, Mr. Lehoux was asking questions about the Vallée Jonction closure of Olimel. In many studies at the committee, we have noted that there is very large concentration. There's a lot of concentration, especially for slaughterhouses across the industry. Is there any support for smaller processing plants, especially in rural areas, that could be some sort of network that could help alleviate the pressure on the industry? We have talked about this in the past weeks. We've talked with a few companies, not myself, but my colleagues have. I know that some companies have taken into consideration the impact it will have on their region. I know that they have already started talking to other provinces and producers in order to welcome them in various processing plants. As you know, this is not a decision that was taken overnight. They were conscious of what could happen. I myself talked about it with my colleagues at Farm Credit Canada to see what could be done in order to provide more support. This is not necessarily from my own department. We already have some programs in place, but we do have banks in Canada that would be able to and have the authority and mandate to do so. I guess we will be working on that. I'll ask about Ukraine again. The minister gave an answer. I sense that she had a certain empathy for the cause or sympathy for the cause, and she said she does not take the decisions. Who does? I think as far as I know, it would be the finance department. Finance, fantastic. Now we know who to pressure. I'm looking at the numbers, especially for climate. We have a lot of big words. When I look at the numbers, though, they are quite low. 87 million, for example, might seem pretty big, but for Canada, it's not much. Are there other investments that you're planning on? Will there be other cycles for requests? 1.5 billion is the amount that I have for 2 years. That's a pretty big amount. In the 3 months since I've joined this department, in fact, I have seen an increase in requests, and we have improved the programs and added $200 million to this program exclusively. This is the for climate change. Yes, you mean overall? Yes, I mean overall. I meant specifically for this program. Well, there are various needs, and we are trying to develop programs that will meet the needs of various producers across Canada, across various regions. Can you tell me more about the following? Temporary foreign workers, what can you tell me? Or will you say that this is not something you can tell me? Because we've been talking about reform for a very long time. We also want the program of having a trustworthy employer. There are many, many announcements that are made, but people have been waiting for a long time. I don't have any dates, and we are not leading the pack on this question, but we are developing our own strategy for agricultural workers, and that does include temporary foreign workers who we very much need across the country, not just in Quebec. We are consulting various producers, farmers, and the like. There are some very interesting conclusions. some people would like to have a fixed visa for specific facilities or companies, and certain people say that yes, that is possible, but others say no, that maybe they will work in a sector for a season, but they don't know what they would do for the rest of the season or for the visa. So the opinions diverge.
Please.
Thank you. And I want to thank all the witnesses for being here and our officials. My first questions are for the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. And back in February, my colleague, Alistair McGregor, presented a petition to the House with more than 36,000 signatures calling for the ban of live horses being exported for slaughter. This, had a huge outpouring of support from Canadians across the country. It's in the top 20 highest number of signatures ever for any petition to the House of Commons. And I know that the government responded on March 29th, and presumably officials from CFIA had some involvement in the drafting of that response. The last paragraph, it states, to conclude this answer, the government would like to thank petitioners for this opportunity to reiterate that the government takes the issue of animal welfare seriously. We remain engaged and working diligently to implement the mandate letter commitment to ban the live export of horses for slaughter. Now, I'm curious if the department officials can share with the committee about what the holdup is with implementing this section of the minister's mandate letter from the Prime Minister.
So we are taking very seriously the mandate commitment that is in Minister Bibeau's letter. We are continuing to analyze and look at ways forward, and we will be getting back to members as soon as we can on this one.
Do we have any sense of a timeline?
I don't think I would be able to commit to a timeline, but I can certainly say that while we are looking into how we can implement that mandate commitment, the CFIA continues to hold very high animal welfare standards and continues to inspect all the shipments using measures that are in place that are based on very strong science international standards.
And I guess on that note, also in February, 4 days after my colleague presented this petition, Animal Justice sent a letter to the minister signed by 8 other organizations, bringing to attention there is a shipment of live horses transported out of Winnipeg on December 12th, 2022. The letter talks about how the duration of travel was far beyond the 28-hour limit for live animal transport. At least 3 horses collapsed and died during transport. They also note that CFIA was alerted to this and responded stating an acknowledgement that the 28-hour limit was not met. And so if you are committed to animal welfare and you continue to state that you're reminding the parties involved about their responsibilities, why is it that this practice continues to happen? Why is it that the CFIA allows this to happen?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. And I would like to, on this one, if my recollection is appropriate, this one was, so when horses are onboarded into a plane, we ensure that we have the travel trajectory and that the time of arrival is less than 28 hours, unless they have to stop and be fed and water and rest. Sometime, and it happens, there's some weather issue or planes issue that, and if I recall correctly, this plane had to land in Alaska for a couple of hours to get refueled and some repairs, and after that left to Japan. So it's an exceptional situation, but we make sure that before they leave that they have the right plan to arrive at this.
I'm just going to interrupt for a moment just to clarify. Before leaving from Winnipeg, they were delayed by 16.5 hours. So there was no way that the 28-hour limit would be met by the time they flew out. And those involved proceeded with the shipment anyway. And then there were further delays in Seattle, resulting in an even longer journey. And this kind of arduous trip means that we lose animals and that it is extremely taxing on the other horses who did survive. And so, it is, how many times is this going to happen before CFIA steps in and takes measures to ground flights arranged by companies who are profiting off this practice?
So thank you for the question. I don't have the specific of that flight with me, but I can assure you that we have always inspector on site to ensure that the flight plans can be respected. So if there are delays at the airport, it means that the horses should not be boarded on the plane, and they have to be provided with feed and water and a place to rest before they are onboarded for the trip to their destination. That has to be for less than 28 hours.
Yeah, and this clearly didn't happen in this case, and thousands of horses have been shipped since the minister received their mandate letter committing to a ban of these exports. And I'm curious, other than this small number of companies who are profiting off of the export of live horses, who else stands to benefit in this? Like, who are you consulting with, and what kind of? I'm curious, who are the other stakeholders involved in ensuring that we rapidly ban the export of live horses?
Thanks, Ms. Collins. Your time is up, but I will, maybe if you can, I'm not sure if that's going to be Mr. Morel or Ms. Beck, but maybe a quick answer if you can, just so Ms. Collins gets her response there.
Do I push or don't push? There we go. Okay. Sorry. It clearly a very distressing circumstance that you're raising there, and my colleagues at CFIA obviously doing their best to inspect and make sure the horses are in good shape before they get on any kind of aircraft for travel abroad. It is not a large industry, as you have already mentioned. So in terms of consultations, we've been reaching out all across the country to find out where the producers are, where the people who source the horses are. It's not actually, of course, just the transportation companies. It's where do the horses come from initially, and that is underway right now.
Thank you, Ms. Beck. Now we've got time for this final round. So to the Conservatives for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to go back just for a second and revisit kind of the conversation around cool. And the U.S. State Department has proposed new regulatory rules that are voluntary-ish. And I'm just wondering where we're at with that discussion. I know that the WTO has ruled in favor of us in the last cool dispute that we had. And where are we making sure that we're on top of this and that our producers aren't going to get hit with extra costs?
Thank you very much for the question. We followed very closely, as clearly you did, and the moment the news came out of the United States, we were studying carefully what exactly the proposition was and looking right away to see what kind of impact that might have on Canadian producers in particular. I would note that our colleagues to the south in Mexico have similar concerns, and in every case we have raised these directly with our American counterparts. At the moment, we're actually working on the official formal response with consultations with all of the stakeholders, so it will be a united response, if I can frame it.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to go back to CFIA for a second, and just to reiterate, I'm a 4-H kid. I grew up on a dairy and beef farm. Going to livestock shows was a huge part of my growing up and really learning more and more about agriculture. And these volunteers that put on these shows, please review these traceability regs that you're putting forward, because it's going to shut down a lot of these shows. And the problem I see right now with a part of what's going on in agriculture is there's a disconnect between rural and urban Canadians. And so many Canadians in Toronto, Regina, urban centers really for the first time get to see animals and learn about animals at these smaller shows and big shows like the Toronto Winter Fair. And it's just something that's a really big part of our agriculture heritage. And to put these onerous new regulations on volunteers in these shows is going to be very taxing on them. And you need to listen to their feedback, because it's something that I think we can take a step back and review what's going on. So that's a final pitch for me, and just a couple comments on that if you can. Please miss the point.
Yeah, we are. Thank you for the question. We are definitely very aware of the concerns that the fairs are raising, and we are actively working with them to find solutions. But I just want to say that traceability is incredibly important to prevent foreign animal diseases from coming in, and fairs are a place where animals congregate and then return back to their farms.
Yeah,
for
thank you
example.
very much. If you could table documents that show how much disease has been spread from fairs, that'd be great. And also, this is also to do with producers that don't show as well. There's lots of producers that think these traceability renew regs are going to be onerous as well.
Merci. Ma question à Madame.
Thank you. My question is for Ms. Beck about Ukraine. A lot of amounts were thrown our way. Can we get some sort of confirmation? We're told that there are more than 700,000 kilos of grain poultry that has entered the country. Do you know the actual quantity? The CFIA has the exact numbers, but it is not 700,000 kilos. I can reassure you. Mr. Morel, there's 285,000 kilos that have entered Canada that have been intensively inspected and tested. These tests ensure that the quality of the chicken that is put on the market is the same as Canadian, is the same quality as Canadian chicken. We know that this agreement is valid until June, but do you know what quantity will be arriving in the coming weeks and months? We don't know exactly because that depends on importers. They can sometimes decide differently. We have no indication right now that there's any poultry that will be coming in. All poultry that has entered Canada has been tested. If some of it may have been rerouted elsewhere. Have we analyzed the impact this would have on our Canadian poultry producers? What impact could that have on our own producers here? Because we do have the supply management here. I would ask the Department of Agriculture to answer that, but I can say that on the 14 shipments that we've had, there's a potential for only 9 more that can be received, but they haven't been yet announced.
I don't know if Ms. Beck, you're going to try and Mr. Morel's maybe passing the answer over, but if you do have a quick answer, maybe you can provide that.
It's just that we do have a number, en fait. And I don't want to say the wrong number, so on va vous revenir avec ça.
We'll get back to you on that, because indeed it is a very small percentage.
The committee when you have an opportunity. Thank you. Now, Ms. Valdez, for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question. I'm going to try asking a question from each of you. Can you provide some detail or insight on the significance of the services provided by Canadian Grain Commission? So, Mrs. Lapointe, if you can touch on the terms of inspection, weighing, assessment services, particularly if the projected revenues are about $61 million, is what I read in the estimates. I'm not sure who's best able to answer that one.
Not sure anybody is, in fact, unfortunately. Are you looking for the numbers of inspections that are made on a regular basis?
Exactly.
Or, yes?
Yeah, so if you have, with the estimations that are in, with the number that's there, it's like, how are you going to use those funds? Where is it going to go?
The revenue from the inspections,
yes.
You mean? Well, the revenue from the inspections goes towards the operating funds necessary for the Canadian Grain Commission, and those would largely be spent, and maybe while my colleague is having a look, largely be spent on operating dollars for instance, the laboratories in the inspection facilities and the running of the actual facilities themselves, so the operating electrical bills and things like that, and salaries. Those would be the main. And I would just add that the research that is done in those laboratories and the inspections that are the tests that are run in those laboratories are jointly done with the grain producers and companies, processors as well. And the priorities that are chosen are on the basis of consultations too. But did that give you enough time to find any numbers?
Oui, donc merci pour la question. La grande partie, c'est pour des frais de fonctionnement.
A lot of it is for specific budgets. A lot of it is for regulation.
In terms of how the Commission ensures transparency or accountability in utilizing these revenues, if you can share like how that works.
They table too, right?
They table too.
Yeah. Vas-y.
I don't have that detail. Donc,
but they would have to table in main estimates like everybody else does. So it would be as same transparency as the rest of government.
Thank you. Could you provide a breakdown of the key areas or initiatives that the proposed expenditures of, I think it's 1.8 billion for Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada will support within the department?
So the $1.8 billion that we have tabled in main estimates, and then of course there will be more funds coming, we hope, in supplementary estimates. But my colleague, our Chief Financial Officer, has the details. On est 1.8.
Donc, par activité, le budget principal.
Per operation, the budget will provide a certain amount of money. With the Clean Tech program, more than $2.7 million should help producers to find solutions and increase resilience. More than $150 million to help the poultry and dairy industries. There is an agreement with the EU and the Trans-Pacific Agreement as well to take into consideration. We have amounts to support wine producers in Canada, since they will be excluded from the excise tax.
Thank you very much, Ms. Valdez, and thank you to our officials for spending some time with us. Mr. Perron, I don't want to rob you if we don't have 2.5 minutes for you and Ms. Collins, but if you do have maybe one question for the officials, we can have time for maybe one question.
OK, c'est difficile.
But one question doesn't mean like a 5-minute preamble.
Ah ouais, c'est ça. Peut-être savoir.
With the CFIA folks, I'd like to know where we're at for bovine production. And also, is there any flexibility for installing electronic records for truck drivers for the wellness of the animals?
La ministre Bibeau, on travaille avec nos collègues à Transport Canada. On comprend les inquiétudes qui ont été exprimées par l'industrie et le fait que we don't want to have any safety issues. Donc, on s'engage avec Transport Canada pour essayer d'expliquer.
We are in touch with Transport Canada to explain our regulation and to find some sort of solution.
Merci beaucoup. Yeah. Ms. Collins, did you have a final question for the officials?
Maybe just quickly, I noted the budget balance for the Grain Commission was negative with almost a surplus of $12 million. Just curious about the change in the Canadian Grain Commission's budget balance, and then also wondering if you folks are working with Transport Canada on reducing carbon emissions when it comes to the shipping of grain.
Perhaps if I answer the second one while my colleague's looking up numbers, although for the Grains Commission, I suspect it's a timing issue, but we'll look into that for you. On reducing emissions in the supply chain and in particular through transport, absolutely. absolutely working with our colleagues in Transport Canada, inter alia, to find out if there are cheaper, faster, better ways of moving, for instance, grain across the country, but seeing what alternatives are in place where we can be assured that there will be fewer emissions during the transportation of any of our agri-food products destined for export. I would look too at the investments being made, for instance, in the Port of Vancouver that have been recently announced. Will take some time to take place, but the goal there as well is to reduce emissions in that part of the transportation process.
Thank you very much, Ms. Oh, sorry. Did you want to add to that?
Au niveau de la première question.
To answer the first question, we've consulted the head of finance of the, or we will be consulting with them at the Canadian Grain Commission and come back with more detail.
For your time today, we will now excuse you, and we will just do a quick vote here for my colleagues. Colleagues, we have 6 votes here, but I'm going to ask team for unanimous consent that we condense the first 5 into one vote. Is everyone okay with that? Okay. So I'll read it off, and I have a pretty good feeling what the answer is going to be. But so for the main estimates, shall vote 1 under Canadian Dairy Commission, vote 1 under Canadian Grain Commission, votes 1, 5, and 10 under Department of Agriculture and Agri-Food, less the amounts voted in interim supply carry. On division? Yeah. Wow, that surprised me. I was really surprised by that. Okay, so shall the chair report the main estimates 2023-2024, less the amounts voted in the interim supply to the House? On division? Yeah. Thank you very much, team. Great to see everyone. Please enjoy your break back in the constituency. I know everybody will be busy, and we'll see everyone in 10 days-ish. Meeting adjourned.